I started doing my first ones in the mid 90s or early 90s to mid 90s. And I remember those first prostheses I was doing, they were on standard, external hex implants with long connectors and you had to have a high water prosthesis. And so not only did it affect speech, but it affected, food getting caught underneath it, this and that. I mean, patients loved it because it wasn't moving around, but it was at that time difficult for prosthetics because it was really dictated by where the implants and where the bone was. Today, it's now dictated from the top down, which makes it much easier. And for me, prior to doing digital, man, I was doing analog and I was having to make impressions, and then they would have to incorporate the model into the CBCT. And until you go digital, it's very difficult to really save time if you're not digitally oriented. And that's why I decided to do it only in the last several months. What really turned me on to the digitals when I met Mike Gerard said, "Hey, you ought to look at doing digital." I said, "Well, what is the advantage?" I said, "I've been using analog all these years." He said, "Well, you have the ability now to scan and to simplify the process." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, instead of having 3 or 4 appointments, you can turn it into 2 appointments." And so that's what kind of got me going into doing digital. Because those of you who know me know I'm not really a digital guy. I've always been more of an analog. And so now with the Nexus scan gauges being horizontal and being able to scan and verify immediately my scans are good, I could go right to the final. It really is what changed my mind in going digital. I would say utilizing the scan gauges, being able to get the accuracy and know that when I made that scan without having to use like photogrammetry. I mean, people who use photogrammetry have had great success, but that's a $40,000 camera. Being able to use the scan gauges that they turned me on to and being able to verify it, that to me has really been a game changer. The other thing was that when I'm putting these prostheses in, when I'm screwing them down, I mean, there's just absolutely no movement. I mean, I can put the screw test on one side and I'm not getting any type of movement. So to me, the accuracy is probably the most important. When I was doing analog, yes, I had to verify it with Duralay, or I had to connect everything together. And then even sometimes my verification jig was off. And what would I have to do? I'd have to cut it again, and I would have to Duralay it together. I mean, and then I have to send it in the mail, and it just took time. But now, having the confidence that those scans are accurate, I can go right to the final restoration, saving time and basically doing it in 2 appointments. So for me, being a late adopter of this technology and being able to incorporate it, I mean, I'm very excited about it. Not ever having any training in scanning, I picked it up, pretty fast. I never had, when I got the scanner, I never had somebody come and train me on it. All my training has been either from Mitch and Dave and Orem, who has done like, online and came to my office to show me how to scan. That's the scan training that I've been doing. My assistant helps me with the scans. I normally will do the scanning, but it would be very easy for my assistant to do the scanning if I was going on and doing, other things. But to begin with, I wanted to kind of learn how to scan myself. And so I have been doing the scanning. Now she has done some opposing scans. She has done some bite scans. So it's really, a preference of the office. If you have multiple assistants and you can pass on the scanning, it's quite easy for an assistant to scan the scan gauges and the opposing, just like we would do in a normal scan. Yeah, I've been very pleased with the final results that I've gotten from Orem. Knowing them mainly as a aesthetic laboratory, I would expect that their implant restorations would look just as good as their veneers and their crowns and things like that. But I was pleasantly surprised with the fit of the framework and the prosthetics on top of it. And to me, I think that's a game changer. When you can have a substructure of titanium and a zirc milled prosthesis and then cemented to the bar, you have, the best of both worlds. The patients are really excited about the technology because, when you can pull the scanner out, they can see what you're doing and they see their teeth and they see the accuracy of when you put the prosthesis in. I mean, I think it really affects some of the way that the patients feel. They like to know that you're on top of things and you're continually evolving. I've been practicing, man, close to 40 years, and I still enjoy it. And think the patients realize that I'm continuing to learn and try to bring the best technology to the office. What I have found with Orem has not pushed me into just like using everything in their laboratory. They say, hey, if you're happy with the current lab that you've been using, that's great. But if we can offer a benefit, what I find that Orem has brought to me was technology, cutting edge technology, being able to teach me how to do this in a rapid manner, proving the accuracy and the aesthetics has been really wonderful. I love working with companies that I genuinely like the people, but if you like the people and they can also provide you with top-notch service, that makes it a lot more fun. A lot of people think that you can only use BioHorizons or Straumann or Nobel. There's a number of implant systems that work with this system. You don't have to change your system. You're using a multi-unit abutment that is universal with a lot of the systems. There's a few systems that may not work, but the majority of them you don't have to change. And so after talking with Orem and their laboratory techs and Mike Gerard, I was able to say, hey, you know what? I'll put the multi-units on, use the implant system that you want, and the scan gauges are going to be compatible with that. The other thing I like about the system is you don't to have a specific scanner. You can use most scanners that are available commercially today. Now, there are a few that perhaps are still being under investigation, but the mainstream scanners can work with these scan gauges, making it so much easier. You take the scan gauges, you put it on the multi-unit abutment of choice that you're using for the implant system, scan left to right, right to left, upload those scans to a portal, and it will tell you immediately, is that scan accurate? If it's not, they're going to tell you to take a new scan. Having the ability to do these prostheses on either 4 implants, 6 implants, five, and knowing that the fixed cost is there makes it easy because there were times when I had to say, well, it depends how many implants there are, how many multi-units, blah, blah, blah. And the laboratory was charging a certain amount for 3, 4, 5, or 6. Now we know what the cost is. And for me, I talk with my surgeon and I say, how much do you want to charge for your portion? This is my portion. Let's have a global fee. And that way more patients are going to not be nickel and dimed when they want to do these prostheses. It makes it much more affordable. It makes the laboratory know that this is what they're charging. The dentist knows what they're charging. And, you can predict what your profit is going to be. Now, that being said, if you're not following the protocol and you're taking multiple appointments, your profit goes down. All I have is chair time. And if I can go from 4 appointments to 2 appointments, I just increased my profitability. Orem's basically held my hand throughout this process. I will say my experience with Orem has been great. Having a team behind you really gives you a lot more confidence because being an old guy, when you have had success using one system, it's difficult to change. But if they can show you a change that actually not only is more profitable and more predictable, but also fun, that makes dentistry, a great profession.